We can now go live to Edinburgh to speak to John Boothman, Times political journalist who is based in Scotland. John, thanks for joining us. You were there on Friday. How has this trip been so far? Successful for Trump politically, despite the protests and, of course, the controversy?
I think Donald Trump will be very pleased with this trip, to be honest. It was supposed to be a 4 or 5 day private visit. It's turned into something much more than that. He's got, his commercial enterprise in the golf course in Turnberry and in Aberdeenshire, where he goes tomorrow, which will be advertised around the world. But, hugely significant, the trade deal that's been signed with the European Union yesterday. 15% tariffs on all European goods, including cars. Now, that's, on one hand, is good for the European Union. It's lower than what was initially proposed. On the other hand, I see that the French Prime Minister is condemning it this afternoon as a capitulation. So all of that, to be honest, looks like good news for Trump. On the protest front, despite the fact that, it's clear that people in Scotland in general are not in favour of President Trump and his policies, the fact is the demonstrations and the protests, of which there were only a couple that took place, were pretty insignificant, I would say. I suspect we'll see bigger numbers protesting against the president when he comes here for that second state visit in 7 weeks' time. I think all in all it's been good. He's also managed to dominate the agenda today in particular. I think people will be interested in what he had to say about Russia. He had proposed previously a 50-day timetable for a ceasefire with the Ukraine, and he's saying this afternoon that he's about to announce secondary sanctions on Russia unless they can get to a ceasefire within the next 12 days. He was quite strong in attacking President Putin, saying that on 2 or 3 occasions there had been, the prospect of actually signing a ceasefire deal, but every time that happened, Putin had escalated his attacks in the Ukraine, killing people in missile strikes.
John, as you mentioned there is still an outcry, I guess, of people who are there on the streets with placards. Some people are coming after Trump. How is he working this to play into his image there on the ground in Scotland? How is he making this a pro-Trump story?
Look, everywhere Donald Trump goes, he dominates the agenda. He's dominated the agenda domestically and internationally in Britain today. This is clearly, I think, all going to play quite well for him on the other side of the pond, on the other side of the Atlantic. He looks strong. He looks as if he's making those kind of deals that he's been talking about. And if you've got people like the French Prime Minister complaining that this is a capitulation, then Trump can present that as being a victory for him, for his tariffs and for the United States. I mean, this has been a really, really curious weekend when you see the British Prime Minister, the President of the European Union Commission, going to Trump's golf course to actually pay a bit of homage to him. And also they need to be very, very careful, and they have been, in terms of, trying not to antagonise him. I think Keir Starmer's done that particularly well, and that's played well for the Prime Minister in terms of the deal he's managed to extract for the UK, which is all about 10% tariffs rather than 15% tariffs.
John, let's talk about the security on the ground. We haven't seen this, 6,000 officers. Technically, it's a private visit, and we haven't seen that level of policing since the funeral cortege of Queen Elizabeth II left from Balmoral. So how's that going down with the public and local leaders there?
Look, there's only 16,000 police officers in Scotland, and 6 of them are being deployed all around about 2 golf courses for Donald Trump. Turnberry, the village of Turnberry, has been called the smallest fortified village in the world. There are police officers here to augment that force from Northern Ireland and all parts of England just to help out. The operation is absolutely huge. The comparison I was going to make was with the COP26 climate change conference, which took place in Glasgow in 2026. Local people in Scotland are kind of, they're asking the question, who's going to have to foot the bill for this? As I say, it was after all billed as a private visit. It's turned into something much more. We're going to see again JD Vance is coming to Scotland next month, so we're going to see something on that front. As I say, people are quite annoyed by the cost of this, and it's caused a fair amount of disruption as well.
John, we're expecting Trump to talk immigration. We saw he already spoke about wind energy today, and the famous wind turbine chat is back once again. A familiar rhetoric. Is he testing the waters for the next big chats with the UK, potentially, while he's there?
Look, his views on both immigration and wind farms are actually pretty well known. I think he's managed to craft a narrative round about that. He's not been afraid in the past few months, since even, in fact, before he was elected, to make this an issue, not just in terms of what happens in the United States, but also here in Europe as well. He said today that immigration was the biggest issue that won him the election. He praised Keir Starmer for the tough stance he'd taken in immigration, but he also went as far today to give equal praise to Nigel Farage, the person who's been promoting that anti-immigration agenda in the UK more than anyone else. His views on wind farms, he called them ugly monsters today. He said they were the most expensive form of energy, and he said they blighted the landscape. He's off, of course, to Aberdeen this evening, which is known as the oil capital of Europe. And I suspect we'll hear much more about his attacks on wind farms and a bit of drill, baby, drill as well.
John Boothman, political journalist for The Times in Edinburgh, thank you so much for joining us.